Hello everyone. I don't know why it looks so dark in here. I've got two lights on and I'm like, it looks super dark. This is my second video about deep vein thrombosis and pulmonary embolism. This one is going to be talking about, as I mentioned at the end of the other one, the risk factors for the two, complications that can arise from it, and in some instances, complications that cause it. I believe that I guess would fall under the risk factors category, and also prevention, which I didn't realize was on the Mayo Clinic website whenever I was talking about the things that were going to be on the new one last time. I really wish I could figure out why it's so dark in here. I guess I need to put another light in my ceiling fan, but it makes it look grainy because it's so dark. But anyway, I kind of have my lat staggered, one here and one there. But so anyway, on to the deep vein thrombosis and pulmonary embolism topic. I'll sort of see if I can find exactly where I left off. So I think I might have mentioned this last time about the common causes of DVT are anything that prevents your blood from flowing or clotting in the manner it normally would. The main causes include damage to a vein during surgery and trauma and inflammation due to an infection or injury. I am pretty sure I mentioned that in the last one. This next part is going to talk about the risk factors for deep vein thrombosis. There are several things that increase a person's risk of DVT, deep vein thrombosis. And the more risk factors someone has, if you have multiple risk factors, the greater your risk of deep vein thrombosis. The common risk factors include age. So people who are 60 or over are more at risk for deep vein thrombosis. And that's partly because, like I talked about before, they're more apt to be in hospitals for prolonged periods of time, or in nursing homes where they would be staying in bed for longer periods of time than the average person. And also people who sit for long periods of time, which we talked about before also, such as when you're driving or flying, that prevents your muscles in your legs from contracting, which the article said it prevents the muscles in your calves from contracting. And I was like, well, it prevents the muscles in all of your legs from contracting. And of course, if you're driving, part of your muscles in your leg are going to be working and contracting, but not as much as they would if you were walking around or something like that. So yeah, when you drive or fly or travel for prolonged periods of time, it prevents the contractions in your legs, which helps your blood flow or your blood to circulate normally. Also prolonged bed rest, like during a hospital stay and when a person is paralyzed. This causes the same issue with blood circulation in your legs, especially in your calves. And I believe I mentioned whenever I did the part 1 video for deep vein thrombosis and pulmonary embolism, a lot of this is going to be redundant. It's going to be repeated from what I said before, but these are the risk factors, which are similar to the warning signs, of course. Injury or surgery. If you have an injury to the veins in your legs or have had surgery, it can increase your risk of blood clots because, as I said, a lot of people who have had surgery are put on bed rest, so they will be immobile for prolonged periods of times. Pregnancy increases, and I mentioned this a little bit on the last video also, but pregnancy increases pressure in the veins in the pelvis and the legs, so that increases pregnant women's chance of developing deep vein thrombosis. And there are risks, of course, if you have an inherited clotting disorder. I was going to look up actually some examples of inherited clotting disorders. I don't right offhand know what any of those are. I was thinking it gave an example of one, but apparently not. And then it says this risk can continue. Oh, Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Oh, so that specific part right there is saying that the risk of pregnant women developing blood clots increases if they have an inherited clotting disorder, which would be true of anyone. It's super hot in my room right now for some reason, but anyway. And then it says this risk can continue for up to 6 weeks after the baby is born. So just because a woman has had her baby does not mean that she is not at risk of developing deep vein thrombosis. Not trying to scare anyone. Because as I said, this is fairly rare, but there are like 200,000 cases in the United States annually. And that's low compared to a lot of other diseases that there are. Taking birth control or hormone replacement therapy can increase the blood's ability to clot. Now, the article only mentioned birth control pills, but I know because at one point I got the Depo-Provera shot when I was younger, and I took birth control pills. I also, I cannot think of what else it was. There was something else that I used at one point, and all of them, they told me, increase the odds of you getting a blood clot, especially if you're over 40 or smoke. So it's not just the birth control pill, it's birth control or hormone replacement therapy. They can increase your body's, your blood's ability to clot. I'm getting tongue-tied again. Sorry about that. Being overweight or obese for the same reasons as being pregnant increases your risk, which is the increased pressure on your pelvis and your legs, the increased pressure in the veins in those areas. That's why, and exercising, eventually, I'm going to talk more about that later, but exercising not only can possibly help you to lose weight, but improves your circulation and reduces your risk of developing deep vein thrombosis or a pulmonary embolism. Smoking, which I mentioned along with birth control, but smoking by itself affects blood clotting and circulation, something I still do from time to time, only about a half a cigarette at night, usually to help me relax so I can go to sleep, as silly as that sounds to a lot of people. I need to stop that. Been trying to ever since I started back. I was in graduate school when I started back. But anyway, cancer may increase substances in your blood that make your blood clot. And also, some cancer treatments may increase the risk of blood clots developing. Heart failure increases your risk of DVT and PE because your blood is unable to circulate properly. And it says here, you know, given the limited heart and lung function that you get or that you have when you have heart failure, symptoms of even a small pulmonary embolism are more noticeable. So, and I thought this part right here was really interesting. It says inflammatory bowel disease, and it gives some examples of different inflammatory bowel diseases, which I thought that was just one thing. And they, in the 90s, were diagnosing people with it like crazy. Oh, your stomach's hurting, you have irritable bowel syndrome. Oh, your back's hurting, you have irritable bowel syndrome. It was crazy. But anyway, some people do seriously have it. But this is not irritable bowel syndrome. This is inflammatory bowel syndrome, which is different. And some of these bowel diseases include Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. And having those increases your risk of developing a blood clot. I'm guessing because the inflammation in your bowels possibly keeps your blood from circulating properly. It did not say why this increases your risk, but it does. And a personal or family history, of course, of DVT or PE may increase your risk. And from what I understood, research does not actually indicate that it does increase your risk, but it is possible that it does. And as I said, I believe that someone in my family suffered a pulmonary embolism many years ago. I don't even recall exactly how many years ago it's been, like quite a few, 17 or 18, I believe. wasn't aware that was what happened at the time, though I kind of think I recall maybe someone telling me that that was what they said happened. And along the line of personal or family history of DVT or PE, of course, genetics. There can be inherited risk factors or disorders. And an example of that is factor V Leiden, which I'm not really sure what is, but it makes your blood clot more easily than it normally would, is what the internet told me. And it also says, the disorder says the inherited disorder alone may not cause blood clots, but if other risk factors exist, it could cause them. Like if you have an inherited disorder such as this factor V Leiden, the disorder itself may not cause you to develop DVT or a pulmonary embolism. But say if you're 68 years old and smoking, then that might increase the odds of you developing deep vein thrombosis or a pulmonary embolism. A blood clot can occur with no apparent underlying risk factor. And I talked about that in the last video a little bit also, I believe, because a lot of times, as I did state initially in that video, a lot of times, the majority of the time, deep vein thrombosis has no physical symptoms. It is just there. And then sometimes it leads to a pulmonary embolism, and that's when doctors and the person realizes that something is going on. And other times they don't even really realize that that's what has happened at all. So yeah. And sometimes it just seems like, it seems like you're doing everything the way that you should be doing it, but you go to the doctor because you're not feeling well, and the doctor tells you have a blood clot. I knew someone one time that happened to. They didn't smoke. They weren't on birth control. They were a fairly healthy person, and they weren't feeling good one day, and they went to the doctor and were told that they had a blood clot in their lung, which they removed. So, it was a good thing they realized that they weren't feeling well and were able to go to the doctor. They had really good insurance, so it was good that they were able to find that out. And they had no warning signs up to the, I'm just really not feeling good, and my side kind of hurts in the lung type area. And when a blood clot occurs with no underlying risk factor, that is known as an unprovoked VTE. And I told y'all that I was going to remind myself in that area what a VTE is. The VTE is a venous thrombolism, which is when the deep vein thrombosis and pulmonary embolism occur together. So there's like no warning, which there usually isn't, because as I've said several times, a lot of times there are no symptoms of deep vein thrombosis. So now I'm going to talk about complications. Okay. Of course, the main complication, as I mentioned in my other video, that can occur with deep vein thrombosis is pulmonary embolism, or PE. A pulmonary embolism is a potentially life-threatening complication that is associated with deep vein thrombosis. It happens when a blood vessel in a lung becomes obstructed or blocked, same thing, by a blood clot, which is known as a thrombus, that traveled to the lung. It can also travel to the heart from another part of the body, usually a leg. And I made a big asterisk next to this. When you have symptoms of a pulmonary embolism, you need to get immediate medical assistance. If you do have signs or symptoms of PE. And these are the signs and symptoms of PE, which I mentioned in my other video, but I'm going to repeat them because it's very important to know them. Though the majority of them could be something else, but it could be a pulmonary embolism. So if you're experiencing them, you really need to go to an emergency department as soon as you can. And they are sudden shortness of breath, chest pain while inhaling or coughing, not just chest pain, but while inhaling or coughing, rapid breathing, rapid pulse, feeling faint or fainting, and coughing up blood. Those are the warning signs and symptoms of pulmonary embolism. So another complication from DVT is, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, I know, and I apologize ahead of time for all you sciencey people or medically people. Post-Phlebitis, oh my gosh. Post-Phlebitis, I think is how you pronounce it, post-Phlebitis syndrome. And that's when damage to your veins from a blood clot reduces blood flow in the affected areas. So, damage to your veins from a blood clot reduces blood flow in the affected areas. And that causes leg pain and swelling, which at least would give you symptoms, as well as skin discoloration and skin sores. So again, that would at least give you some symptoms that you have something going on, but that's a complication from deep vein thrombosis. And there are also complications due to medical treatments for DVT, such as blood thinners. Blood thinners may cause bleeding or hemorrhaging. You must have regular blood tests while you're taking blood thinners to make sure that it's not causing other issues. I, at one point, was taking an arthritis medication that could cause my blood to thin, and I had to have regular blood tests to make sure that I didn't have, that my iron wasn't being leached from my body, I believe was part of what it was. And also to make sure, like to check my blood cell counts, because that helps to detect if there's a leak in your veins, so to speak. If blood is seeping through your veins or something along that line is what my rheumatologist told me. I don't really know. But yeah, blood thinners can cause complications with other health. They don't cause DVT, but they're a treatment that is used for deep vein thrombosis that can cause other medical conditions. And so now I'm going to talk about preventing DVT, which can also help to prevent pulmonary embolisms. This is where exercise comes in, regular exercise. And I've been walking to the mailbox / dumpster at least a couple of days a week because, my car broke down. So I'm walking more than I normally do. And it's helping me to feel somewhat better. So that's very, very good for me. And I encourage everyone to, try to walk extra, like if it's parking toward the top of the parking lot or whatnot. And the other, I don't tend to be real active myself. And I also have a really severely bad habit of crossing my legs. They're not crossed right now, but I've crossed them like 5 or 6 times since I started making this video at least, and that's bad for your circulation. When my daughter went to a podiatrist years ago, he was talking to us about that because he noticed that I kept crossing my feet, crossing my legs, and he's like, that's bad for your circulation. You shouldn't do that. And I'm like, but it's a habit. But so, okay, prevention, how you can prevent deep vein thrombosis and pulmonary embolism. Of course, avoid sitting for prolonged periods of time, which is easier said than done for a lot of people because, like I say, truck drivers have, they have to drive for long distances before they're able to get out of their vehicle and walk around. There are a lot of truck drivers who have made videos about exercises that people who are traveling or truck drivers can do along their route to where they're going that help to circulate your blood and keep you in better health. And that's really good. I don't know any of those right offhand. I know there's a guy that drives for Prime that has a really good YouTube channel about doing exercises while you're traveling. And Following bed rest, of course, or surgery, it is important to try to get moving as soon as you can. That sometimes it's easier said than done, but even if you have to have a walker to help you get along, or a cane, as long as you are moving, your blood is circulating in your legs and pelvis, and it helps keep you from developing deep vein thrombosis or pulmonary embolism, or it can help you keep from developing it. As I say, sometimes they do occur for no apparent reason. When you have to sit for a long while, such as, such as traveling and stuff, which I already talked about a couple of times, but anyway, that's not what I was going to say at all. When you have to sit for a long while, like when I'm making my YouTube videos, that's not a real long while, but anyway, avoid crossing your legs, because that may block your blood flow and prevent your blood from circulating as it should. While you're traveling via car, stop about every hour and get out and walk around, or semi-truck, RV, whatever. Stop about every hour, get out and walk around some. I used to make sure that I did that whenever I took trips. Now, sometimes I don't stop until like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And sometimes I just hop out the car, get gas, and head on down the road, which is not good. You need to get out, walk over to the bathroom, walk around the gas station, and get your blood flowing some. Now I forgot where I was at. Oh, yes. It says, this improves blood circulation in your legs, which I already mentioned. While you're on an airplane, I found this really interesting. It mentions a couple of exercises that you can do while you're in your seat that should not bother the person sitting in front of you. Thought that was a really good tip. But it says, while on an airplane, stand or walk occasionally. If it is not possible for you to do so, or you're not comfortable doing so, I threw that part there in because I'm like, I don't know that I would want to get up and walk around on an airplane while it's flying. But anyway, unless maybe I had to use the restroom. But yeah, if you're not comfortable doing that, or it's not possible for you to do that, at least exercise your lower legs. And it says 2 different exercises here. It's one way to do this is by raising and lowering your heels while keeping your toes on the floor. So that will help to, and try to avoid crossing your legs, of course, or your ankles, any part of your legs. So, you raise and lower your heels while keeping your toes on the floor. We used to call those heel raises. I believe that's what they're called. And then, of course, you can also raise your toes with your heels on the floor, which is a little bit harder to do, but you can do it. Like you're tapping your toes to your music or something. Have your headphones on, jam down. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, so yeah, those are the 2 exercises that suggest for when you're flying on an airplane. And I was like, hey, you can do that, and it shouldn't really bother the person sitting in front of you. Probably more so doing the toe tapping, raising your toes and keeping your heels down part, than raising your heels would. But yeah, neither of them should bother the person in front of you very much. And I put in here, of course, which I already said, but again, try not to cross your legs, since doing so reduces blood flow in your legs. I still need to figure out about I put my Exploding Kittens game plug under my laptop, and it's still not quite the height that I need it to be or something. I don't know. It's pretty good though, I think, don't you? Anyway, I forgot to tell y'all to subscribe again, but that's okay. Anywho's and ways again. Oh yes. Prevention. Do not smoke. Means a lot coming from me, since I just told you that I do. I'm trying to quit. I will quit. It's just going to be a matter of time. And of course, smoking increases your risk of DVT. That's why you need to quit smoking if you smoke. It's very important. Every time I've gone to the doctor since I started back smoking, do you smoke? Well, yeah, kind of. I only smoke about a half a cigarette a day, sometimes a whole cigarette. Oh, you really need to quit that. Sometimes smoking less is worse than smoking more. Too even. Anyway. And of course, as I also mentioned earlier, very, very important, exercise and manage your weight. I really have no room to talk on the managing your weight thing right now. I do fall within the obese category. My Samsung Health helps me keep up with that. And I've been working on trying to lose some weight. I got up to about, and I know a lot of y'all are going to be like, oh, that's not very heavy, but I got up to about 180 pounds. And I was like, no, I am not going to be that big. It's not good for my health. It's not good for my kids, my grandkids. They need me to be healthy. So as I said, my car broke down. But before that, I started parking. I had been parking kind of far away from restaurants when I do food deliveries. And I started parking even further out, even though I was trying to hurry, so I walk a little faster and stuff. But yeah, I haven't lost much, but I'm staying pretty much steadily around 174, 175 now. So I have lost a little. And I plan to try to continue, losing until I don't want to lose too much. I don't want to be unhealthy in that way either. But obesity is a risk factor for deep vein thrombosis, as well as other ailments such as heart disease and diabetes. So, yeah. Regular exercise lowers your risk of blood clots because it helps your blood to circulate properly, This is especially important for people who sit a lot and or travel frequently. And this is where I made the note in my notes here that there are several truck drivers who have excellent videos about exercises for people who are driving semi-trucks or are just driving long distances. And as I mentioned, I don't recall, you can, you can go to YouTube or you can just go to Google and search traveling exercises or exercises while traveling or stay active while traveling or something along that line. And it will help you to find these videos. But I do know there are several truck drivers that have them. I'm pretty sure there's a guy who drives for Swift and that does team driving. And there is the iguana guy, the guy that has the iguana and pig, or he did. I don't know if he still is or not. But I don't recall who he drives for. But he does the exercise videos, or he used to. And then there's the guy that drives for Prime. He will show you, he shows truck drivers how they can do stretches before going for a little jog or run, which he suggests finding a place that's kind of off the road or whatever, do the stretches by your truck. And then just if you don't have a good surface to run on for very far or whatever, just run around your truck a couple of times and stuff like that. He shows other exercises also, of course, like jumping jacks and squats and various things, but it's really, really good advice and really good information. So I think I was going to tag on the tail end of this one what I plan to do over the next couple of weeks, in addition to possibly another research video about medical stuff or so. But I need to find out about whether they're going to be doing another season of The Masked Dancer, and I need to find out some stuff about the new season of The Masked Singer. So I want to make another video, probably not today. Let me see what is today. Today's Tuesday where I live. So probably Thursday, unless I decide to go to Arkansas to help my daughter, or unless my daughter decides to go to Arkansas to look for her lost dog there. And I will be going with her to do that. So anyway, by Saturday at the latest, I will say, I will make a video either informing you of my plans concerning doing videos and research and such on The Masked Dancer and The Masked Singer, or I will go ahead and do some research into those things, or those shows, I guess I should say, and just go ahead and do a video about what is going on with them. So So I hope that you guys have found these 2 videos on deep vein thrombosis and pulmonary embolism very informative. And apparently they both turned out to be about 30 minutes long. So it's a good thing that I didn't do almost 1 video. If there is an illness, a disease of some sort that you would like for me to do a little bit of research into and make a video on so that people can be more informed about it, comment and let me know. Of course, subscribe, share my video on social media. Seems like I'm forgetting to say something, but I don't know what it is, and that's probably why I'm forgetting to say it. So anyway, I am going to go ahead and sign off on this video. Everyone have a good whatever time of night or day it is in your part of the world. Stay safe, stay positive, take care of those that you love in the best way that you can. And I just realized my thing is not lined up right, so I'm going to hope that I can end this stream, or I'll just stream all day. But yeah, there it goes. Okay, so you guys keep watching, subscribe, and you will see me next time.